At this time, I'd like to have Joe Sprague come up to do a final induction of the evening. And while Joe's walking up here, this is well deserved, long overdue. I'm sure Dave and Brad will talk about it a little, but I will tell you, when the Challenge Cup began, there really was no competitive option for kids but the Rhode Island Junior Amateur. And Dave Sr. really brought something to Rhode Island that's become great, and Joe's going to talk about that right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. And that's tough to follow that with Brad and Kyle and Fred's cousin. So trying to get a little bit better. So got some lessons from Fred. I was just striping it out there. And then I'd see him a couple of weeks later, he's like, "How'd you play?" It's like, I still got the two-way miss going, Fred. He's like, oh boy. So I was a range player, but Fred was great. It was more of a life lesson when you had a lesson with Fred Bruno than, or as much a life lesson as a golf lesson. So it's really like old home week here. It's a thrill for me to be here. And Brad Faxon, great to see you. So I know, Brad, you mentioned Paul Kenyon, the legend. I remember reading Paul's byline as a kid, and then when I met him when I was older, it's Mr. Kenyon, reading all his great stories in the journal. And then I got a chance to meet with him and really work with him when I worked for the RIGA. So Paul, very much well-deserved in certainly overdue here as well. And I see him out here, Brad Boss, and Brad's, kind of understated, and he's meant so much of the game in Rhode Island, been such a huge supporter of the RIGA during my time, during my dad's time. So just a shout out to Brad Boss for all of your great things that you're doing. For our final induction to the 2023 Rhode Island Golf Hall of Fame. It is my honor for our final inductee of the evening. It's actually a family. It's the Adamonis family. Dave Adamonis Sr., Dave Jr., and Brad Adamonis. They've contributed greatly to golf in Rhode Island. Dave Sr. for founding the U.S. Challenge Cup Foundation. Dave Jr. for taking the organization to even greater heights. And Brad for being one of the early success stories of the Challenge Cup, who went on to play the game at its highest level. After his dad's passing, Dave Jr. continued to lead the Challenge Cup and took the organization to the next level. He expanded the schedule to more than 40 tournaments annually. He established qualifiers for national junior tournaments. In effect, Dave Jr. built the Challenge Cup into an organization that is recognized nationally. As Challenge Cup alum and former PGA Tour player, Jim Renner recounted last year in a magazine article, "A lot of people owe Dave Adamonis Jr. You can't put a price tag on what he has done," end quote. They create opportunities for junior golfers where before they did not exist. And many players reach the pinnacle of their golfing dream due to the Challenge Cup. And with that, it gives me great pleasure and is my honor to induct the Adamonis family into the Rhode Island Golf Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's an honor and a privilege for us to be here tonight. I'd like to congratulate all the recipients, the inductees, and all the award winners. And, this to me, while it's great that both Brad and I are being recognized, this award really is about my dad. When Brad and I were junior golfers, there was almost no opportunities for kids to play golf. I was talking to Kyle Phillips earlier, and I mentioned to him, I said, we had a couple of tournaments that were majors. I said the Rhode Island Junior was a major, and then I think Paul Damiano's here, the Insurance Youth Classic. Those were really kind of our two majors. There weren't too many other opportunities for kids to play in tournaments. And, my dad had a vision, and you talk about pioneers and visionaries. I mean, he was one. He had a vision that golf should be a game not only for junior golfers, but it should be a game for women and for people of all race. And you speed ahead and you look at where we are right now in 2023, and that's really what it is. For us as a family, like, we do what we do for the love of people, and there's no better evidence of that, just circle and how it works, than when my dad had cancer. He was struggling, and he was down in Florida, and he wasn't getting the best care in the world, and it just so happened that I, through my connections with the Challenge Cup, knew the president of Mass General, and the chief of pediatrics was a huge friend of mine. And I called both of them up, and I told them, I said, listen, I said, we got a problem on our hands. They immediately embraced my dad's situation. We got him up here to Massachusetts, and he got the best care possible for 4.5 years. He never would have got a chance to see my brother play on the PGA Tour and almost grab a win. He wouldn't have met my daughter. One day we were driving up for his treatment in the car, and I get a little choked up thinking about it. And he said to me, he said, listen, he goes, I can't thank you for this lease on life that you've given me, this extra time. And I said, hey, I said, can you pull your visor down there? And his visor had a mirror in it, and he flipped it down. And I said to him, I said, look in the mirror. I said, you can thank yourself. I go, this is that circle of life thing that we're talking about. You've done all this good for all these people throughout your lifetime. You're getting it back, and you never asked for anything in return. And I think, the best message for me that I can send to all of my players, and really for all of us here in the room, is I think that's just a great credo and a great way to live your life. And that's really what my dad taught me, and that's really what we try to instill upon our players and the kids that we interact with annually. It's not really a job doing what I do. It's an honor. I'd just like to thank everybody and congratulate everybody once again.
That was definitely a great job, Dave. And I just want to thank Mr. Kenyon also. I remember when I was a little kid, I was reading stories about Brad Faxon and Billy Andrade and all the great stories he wrote about. And then eventually, luckily enough, he wrote some nice stories about me. But I'd like to congratulate him. When I think of Paul Kenyon, I think of someone that was always positive. And he always wrote positive articles and influenced people in a positive way. So I appreciate that. When we got older, we battled pretty hard in our sports, like basketball and wiffle ball. It definitely helped me become a better competitor. And luckily, I used some of the, competitions that we had to become a better golfer and, eventually get on the tour. So I want to thank Dave for just being a great brother. And my dad was incredible. My mom and dad, they just gave everything they had to, me and giving me the opportunity to get on the tour. And I was, back in the day, I was playing some national tournaments, and the Challenge Cup wasn't formed yet, but my dad really cared about everybody. My brother wasn't really playing as much golf then, but he wanted to start an organization, give opportunity to everybody in the state and in the area, and that was a real selfless task that he did. And then guys like Kyle and Joe Ryan over here, and Mark Iacono, and different guys that were my age got opportunities to play golf and have more tournaments and then get into better schools. All these guys went to great colleges. Now guys are going, instead of going to Providence College, they're going to Harvard, places like that. And my dad did a great job of starting the organization and giving better opportunities to everybody. So I just want to thank everybody and all the inductees, and thank you very much.
I just had, one more thought that was actually very key to how I wanted to express things. And, they say you're only as good as your help or your team. And so for me, we have an unbelievable team. And when I say that, and I think Bob will echo the same sentiments to the functionality of the Rhode Island Golf Association, all of what we do with our organization could never be a reality without the sponsors of our organizations, the presidents of clubs and the people who agree to host events for us, to the owners. I think there's a few, Carl Augustine, who's in the house, to members who give up their golf courses. And for me, to my staff, Bob talked about Joe Koziarek and Dean Barati. I steal those two guys from him to do events, for rules. My staff, Steve Feinstein, Howie Hunter, my whole family, basically. And my wife didn't know the first thing about running the Challenge Cup, and she's kept this baby running. I've taken back the reins in 2023, but there's so much work that she's done, and she should celebrate in this as much as I should. So I love you, honey. Thank you very much.
To the Adamonis family, and I will tell you, Dave and I talk on the phone quite a bit. We try to coordinate as much as we can. And this is, again, long overdue. What Dave Sr. did for junior golf, Brad's career, and what Dave Jr. has done to keep this going. It's just awesome and adds to what and how great Rhode Island golf is. And that being said, I want to thank you all for hanging in. I want to thank you all for your support. Congratulations to everyone who received an award tonight, was inducted into our Hall of Fame. God bless. I hope you all have a wonderful and happy holiday and safe travels home. Thank you very much.